Good day everyone, welcome back to Ace Trainer. My name is Bodhi and we're going to be doing a tournament report and a recap video of the Oceanic Championships that took place in Melbourne on the weekend of March 10th to 12th. So for those of you who did see some of my content over the weekend, I was the guy that was live streaming and commentating on the top 8 matches of the Masters, the top 4, the finals, and the Seniors final as well. I was lucky enough to be in a position where I could do that, and we will talk about that a bit later on. But for those of you who are new to the channel, this is going to be a sort of a one-time video where I'm going to break down my event, hoping to do so more in the future, especially with some positive results in the future. All right, let's go and talk about Melbourne as a whole now. I arrived Wednesday morning. The event was on Friday morning, of course, so I had 2 whole days of practicing and checking out Melbourne. Fantastic city. I absolutely adore Melbourne. I've been dozens of times now, and every time I go, it just gets better and better every time. Uh, the food, the people, my friends from all over Australia and all over the world, absolutely fantastic. Wouldn't change a single moment. On Thursday night, after registration, we were lucky enough to record a 5 to 10 minute Scoundrelling podcast live at the venue to kind of chat about what we've been seeing and what we thought might have some positive matchups on the day. I think I said a Veltal, and one of my co-hosts, Alex, did say that Volcanion and Darkrai would be the most popular decks, which was pretty close. We'll talk about Decidueye a little bit later on too. I love the deck. I'm so glad that it did so well. Let's go ahead now, guys, and move forward. We're going to talk about my main event. So on the day, I decided to go in, and I was thinking about 2 decks on the day. One of them being a Veltal Garbodor, and one of them being Waterbox. I was more confident with Waterbox, even though the deck is a little bit harder to play, and for many people doesn't have as good a matchups in general. But I was confident in my abilities, and yeah, it ended up going pretty well, I think. At least I hope so. I didn't quite make it to the top 64, but we're going to chat about that now. My main event, I sat down against my round 1 opponent. He was from Adelaide, which is in South Australia, and dead drew and lost in about 5 minutes, both games. Very unfortunate, but it was a lovely opponent. He was playing Decidueye Vileplume, which is not necessarily a bad matchup for me with so many count of Rough Seas and some great attackers in the deck to stop them. But I just couldn't make anything happen. Didn't draw any prizes either game. Round 2, I played against a nice girl playing Umbreon Evolutions. A very good matchup for me, playing Glaceon. Umbreon can do no damage to me, and she didn't play any alternate attackers, so I was able to take out the win there. So after 2 rounds, I am 1-1. Round 3, I play against another Umbreon deck, this time more focused on the Energy Denial build. He played Tauros, and Enhanced Hammers, Crushing Hammers, Team Skull Grunts, Team Flare Grunt. Lots of ways to move my energy off the board. We tied. Very close game. If we had a little bit more time, I think maybe I could have won. There was definitely a chance, but not to be. So I started off the day 1-1-1. Not too great, of course, but the deck that I was playing definitely had the ability from there to make it through. Round 4, I played against Darkrai, and I lost that round. Very close, 3-game series, just couldn't make it happen. Round 5, I played against the Veltal, which was a win, so I am 2-2-1 at this point. Looking very unlikely for me unless I win out the rest of my games to make it to top 32, but there was definitely a chance for me to make top 64. Round 6, I played against Darkrai, and it was a tie. Another very close series there against my opponent. Round 7, I played against another Decidueye Vileplume. This time, I did get a much better setup, and I was able to squeak out a win. In the end, he did miss Vileplume in Game 3, which gave me enough time to power up attackers to make the matchup worthwhile. Round 8, I played against Volcanion, which is an auto win for my deck, thankfully, and I am sitting at 4-2-2, with just needing one more win to get into the final round. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it happen in the 9th round against Darkrai. A very close two-game series, although not a lot of two-game series are very close. This one was very close. I would have had a win if I had used Professor Kukui, but instead I decided to end my opponent to just 2 cards, and he managed to draw his way out of it and pick up a Lysander for a win. That was quite a quick rundown, guys. I actually expected it to take a little bit longer. My final record was 4-3-2, and I ended about 100th. I didn't grab a picture. Unfortunately, I was more looking forward to that top 64. A bit disappointed that I couldn't. However, there were so many amazing things going on in the weekend. I didn't really have time to slow down from the main event to think about what was going on. Let's move on now and talk about the top 32. Now, thanks to our friends at Pokemon Australia, I will be able to put up a graphic for you guys that is going to show you pretty much exactly the whole of the top 32. The most important thing with the top 32, of course, is the prevalence of Decidueye. Now let's talk about Decidueye first of all, coming into the field with a win in Sheffield in the standard format the weekend before, and second place in the expanded tournament the week before, and a week earlier than that in Anaheim it placed in the top 16, which kind of got everybody talking about it and testing the deck. So thank you to Pokemon Australia, who managed to give us the entire list of top 32. I'm going to put it up on screen for now for you guys so you can see it, and then after that we will stop and we will have a chat about it. Alright guys, so here is the top 32 of the Melbourne International. So we're going to kind of go down the list and talk about some of the major talking points of this event, and of course we will go to the top 8 afterwards. First of all, the top 2 seeds both playing Decidueye Vileplume. Not that much of a surprise based on the event. We had so much Decidueye Vileplume in the field, and of course there are 10 total in this event alone, in this top 32 event alone. Third place, we have Darkrai. Again, not a surprise. It was coming in as probably the most consistent and many would argue the best deck in the format. Fourth place, Veltal Zoroark. Quite a new deck that kind of popped up before this tournament. Not necessarily a new deck. It is an old deck in the sense that these cards have been paired together before. But players had kind of decided to use this strategy again as it took advantage of some of the very good cards and GX tax in the game. Going down again, we see plenty more Decidueye as well as Mega Mewtwo. The further down we go, we see our first Vespiquen at 12th place, Alfred Yang, the highest placed Australian after day 1. Congratulations, Alfred. Of course, going into the second day of the event with so much Decidueye Vileplume ahead of him, Alfred's chances were relatively low because it is such a poor matchup. We see number 14 playing the Evolutions deck with Umbreon, as well as the Ancient Origins Flareon and Vaporeon and Jolteon, making its first appearance. And as we get down to 15th place, we see our future champion of the event, Pedro Eugenio Torres, playing Volcanion. This is the one of 3 Volcanion in the list. This is the second one. Gustavo Wada from Brazil was the 9th seed after day 1. But Pedro managed to go through plenty of Decidueye all through this event to make it to the finals. We're going down a bit further now, and we see that Gyarados and Mega Gardevoir begin to make an appearance the lower we go down. A very interesting choice for the event. Mega Gardevoir received a lot of hype. And as we get right down to the very bottom, we see a Mega Mewtwo deck at 31st place, piloted by Australian Matthew Bray. Going into the lower half of the top 32, you can see that there are a few Mega Gardevoir, which would make Matthew's climb in the top 8 very difficult. So big congratulations to all of this top 32. Let's go on now and look at the top 8. Alright guys, me back again. You guys get to see my face again. I'm trying to keep this as edit-free as possible because I've only been back in Brisbane for just a very short period of time. But we're going to look at the top 8 now. First seed, Decidueye Vileplume. As we saw in the top 32, there were 10. Not that much of a surprise to see it top seed. The second seed, Volcanion, played by Gustavo Wada, was very, very exciting to see because it played numerous Pokemon Catcher in the deck, and we will talk a little bit about that in a moment when we go into the matchups. Takuya Nada playing Decidueye, Lugia, Mewtwo. He played no Vileplume in his list, and we do know his full list now. He posted it after the event, which is fantastic to see. Pablo Meza, Tablemon. Fourth seed with Decidueye Vileplume. Alex Hill, fantastic American player, and very pleased now to be able to say a great friend, as we got to spend quite a bit of time together this weekend, also playing Decidueye Vileplume. Pedro in the top 8, who becomes our winner after this event, playing Volcanion. Kian playing Decidueye Vileplume, and Jesper Eriksson rounding off playing Darkrai. So this is not a top 8 you would generally expect to see at a major tournament, especially if you had told people this 2 weeks ago. Maybe you would have seen people saying Gardevoir, Mewtwo, Yveltal, much more popular than Decidueye Vileplume, and even Volcanion as well, and 2 of them out of the 3 that were in the top 32 converted over into the top 8, and one of them made a fantastic run all the way to the finals. Let's talk about the matchups now. So in the top 8, Javier Decidueye Vileplume played against Jesper Eriksson with Darkrai, and Jesper came out on top. Gustavo playing Volcanion against Kian Decidueye Vileplume. Kian came out on top. Takuya playing Decidueye Lugia Mewtwo against Pedro. We managed to record that matchup. That was the first matchup I was able to record, and as we all know now, Pedro did win the event. Finally, 4th versus 5th, Pablo versus Alex Decidueye Vileplume mirror match. Pablo was able to come out on top. Huge surprise in that top 8, I would say, is the fact that the Decidueye Vileplume was able to take a relatively convincing win over Volcanion. It is a very difficult matchup for both decks, and it does come down quite a lot to the Turn 1 Vileplume and whether or not that slows down Volcanion enough. I'm unsure at this point if Gustavo played a Olympia in his deck, but if he did, then he would have had a little bit of a better chance. Pedro, who I was lucky enough as well to interview, said that Olympia was his favorite card in the deck, hands down. Top 4 now, and we see Jesper Eriksson pair against Pablo Meza, and Pedro pair against Kian. So already, top 3 seeds in the top 8 all lose their matchups, and the 5th seed, leaving 4th, 6th, 7th, and 8th as the last 4 seeds, which is relatively surprising, but then in a very, very crazy format that we're in right now, and a very, very crazy top 8, it isn't the most surprising thing in the world to see the higher seeds lose, especially with cards like Vileplume. Alright, so Jesper versus Pablo in the top 4 is the match that we streamed. Jesper unfortunately unable to eke out a win in 2 games. Pablo got a very strong start in both games and was able to overpower Jesper. You guys can see all these recordings on our Facebook page, also titled Ace Trainer Australia, as you can see above. Please go and like it. This is going up on YouTube. Of course, you'll be able to subscribe here to keep up to date. Oh, there's probably something I'm forgetting, but that's okay. The other top 4 match, Kian and Pedro. Pedro playing his second Decidueye Vileplume of the top cut. Well, his second Decidueye deck of the top cut. The first one that he played against didn't play Vileplume, making it a little bit of an easier matchup for him. Pedro is able to eke out that series. I'm unable to remember if it was a 2-0 or a 2-1. I was quite busy recording. Let's move on to the finals. Pedro, Eugenio Torres from Spain, Pablo Tablemon Meza, Decidueye Vileplume. This series does go to 3 games, where Pablo is able to spend the whole first game really prioritizing Vileplume, but missing crucial Dartrixes. There were 3 at the very bottom of his deck, 1 prized, which made it impossible. He did not get a Decidueye for the entire game, just the Vileplume, and was only able to loop Shaman's over and over again, causing Pedro to get a very big lead. Game 2, Pablo comes back very strong, takes a very quick game. And the last game, unfortunately, for Pablo, he is unable to set up on turn 1. He has no supporter, just plays down his hand to a Decidueye and has to pass the turn. After Pedro's absolutely amazing turn 1, he hits double max elixir as well as an attachment. He's got 3 energy on 2 Volcanion EXs straight away. The game is pretty much over from there, and Pablo ends up scooping the game. So, Pedro Eugenio Torres is our champion, and we do have an interview with him on our Ace Trainer Australia Facebook page, hoping that I will be able to save that video and upload it as well to YouTube so we can chat with Pedro there. Guys, that's going to do it for my wrap up of the main event. The next little thing I am going to do is talk about my league challenge, my 89 player league challenge, which occurred on the Saturday during the top 32. And finally, we're going to end it off there. So stick around. There's going to be a cut in a moment, and we will talk about my league challenge. I'll see you guys soon. All right, guys, let's wrap this up nice and quickly with a chat about my league challenge performance. So I did manage to go 5-1-1 on the Saturday, getting 6th place and I think 6 or 8 championship points. It was a crazy, crazy long best of 3 league challenge with so many players. I was very happy. I decided to switch decks from Waterbox to Yveltal, and it worked out much better than I had expected. So I'm going to briefly go through your rounds, guys. I know some people do like to hear this kind of stuff. Round 1 against Dragonair Darkrai, unfortunately, he starts Lone Dratini both games and just kind of draws passes. I'm able to just pretty much donk him both games, unfortunately. Didn't have a lot going on. Round 2, Mega Mewtwo, very close 3-game series against a new lovely friend of mine who watches the show. Very appreciative, very close 3-game series. Round 3 against Taurus Giratina, a friend of mine from Brisbane, Harrison. We had another very close few game series where I just managed to eke out a victory. Round 4, Decidueye Taurus against a great friend, Shannon Khan from Canberra, now Melbourne based. He smashed me both games, unfortunately, and I always loved playing against Shannon. Shannon and I have played against each other for many, many years now. It's always been an absolute pleasure. So I'm sitting at 2-1-1 after this. Pretty much thinking that I have to win out to get some points, get some tickets, all the good stuff that you get at a big international event like that. Round 5, I played against Yveltal Garbodor, and he smashed me in Game 1. I didn't really draw anything. Game 2, I ended him to 1 and managed to make a big comeback with a Fright Knight Yveltal that was active. And Game 3, I ended him to 2 and was just able to eke out a victory. Round 6 against a new friend of mine playing Waterbox. Really lovely to see another Waterbox deck make it so far at that point. I won a very, very long Game 1, about a 35-minute Game 1. It took a long time. Lapras has so much HP, it's so hard to take out. Game 2 is very, very close. We both have 2 prizes, 2 or 3 prizes left as time is called. And as time is called, I realize that the only way I'm going to win is if I dig through my deck to draw a Parallel City to get rid of any chance that he can take 2 prizes on an Yveltal EX in 1 turn on my bench. So I draw through my deck and I draw 2 Pokemon, a Mewtwo and a Trubbish. And I'm able to drop my bench down to 3, getting rid of my Yveltal EX with no Fighting Fury Belt, so his Lapras can't one-hit me. Round 7, the final round, I play against Volcanion, a lovely guy named Jordan from Adelaide, and I am able to take the win 2-0. I do believe that he got relatively unlucky in Game 1. It was really, really close, and Game 2, a little bit more in my favor, just. I ended up 6th place, earning myself like 50 tickets and a few championship points, which is always nice at an event like this. If you can't make it happen in the main event, there's always some events going on around the day that you can pick up some points from, which is nice. That's going to do it, guys. I think this is pretty much it. I've talked for quite a long time in this video. This is already probably my longest video by a country mile. Very happy to be home from Melbourne, although I miss all of my international friends and I miss everybody very, very much already. It is nice to be home and to sleep in my own bed. Never underestimate the power of sleeping in your own bed, especially after a big event like this. Um, to round off, I just want to give a little piece of content news. We have been given permission to get the raw audio files from the event itself, and a big thank you to ESL and to Pokemon, and especially to the man recording it, Tim, who is going to be able to send me these files, and I will be able to give you some proper commentary of all of the rounds that were recorded in the venue. It is really important for me that you guys see some proper commentated matches from a real professional. I don't know if I consider myself a real professional yet, but it is something that I'm really working towards, and I really do hope that you guys tune in for that. My name is Bodhi Cutler, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for all of the love and support all weekend. I got so much positive reinforcement that we were able to stream the games and get everything out there for you guys. It really does make it all worthwhile. I'll see you guys soon.